Imagine that you're an IT administrator and you've got a mission-critical server. Maybe it's a client's phone system or a surveillance NVR, or maybe it's a production database. What happens if that server locks up? What if it gets a blue screen or a kernel panic, whatever, right? It's no big deal because you've got a KVM attached. You pull up the KVM, you troubleshoot the server, maybe even power cycle it to get it back online. But what if the internet is also down? What if your downtime is because the network itself died? Well, now you've lost access to that KVM and you find yourself driving into work at 2 a.m. to figure out what's going on. KVM over IP devices have been around forever, but they do share that single point of failure. You know, the over IP portion, right? They depend on their network connection until now. This is the Comet 5G, and as you can probably guess from the name, it has 5G RedCap capability built right in. You can hardwire it into the network, or you can connect to it over the integrated Wi-Fi 6 antenna, but you've also got cellular failover in the event that, a magnet truck drives by and takes your internet connection offline. Sound interesting? All right, let's take a look. Let's get the Comet 5G out of the box. Inside, we've got a number of cables. We've got 2 HDMI cables. We've got a USB-C to USB-C. We've got a USB-A to USB-C. And then we've got an Ethernet cable. We have a US power plug adapter, which goes with this power brick here. And then here we have the Comet 5G itself. And as we can see, the form factor is pretty similar to the Slate 7, but it's definitely different. The Comet 5G has the antennas coming up from the back, and the display screen is angled on the Comet 5G versus being flat across the front with the Slate 7. Before we even get to the 5G, this is a full-featured KVM. We've got 4K HDMI pass-through, meaning that it sits in line between the server and the monitor. We've also got a gigabit Ethernet port, we've got USB-C for power, and we've got a USB-C for keyboard and mouse emulation for the host server. It also has a USB-A port over on the side here for accessories like the FingerBot, which can manually press the power button on your server if you need to hard boot it. Around the front, we've got this gorgeous 3.69-inch touchscreen display, and we've also got a pair of antennas that you can pop up if you're connecting over Wi-Fi 6. Now, side note, these antennas are also used for the 5G cellular connection. On the inside, the Comet 5G is powered by the same internals as the Comet Pro KVM, which is a quad-core Cortex A53 CPU and 1 gig of DDR3 RAM. It also has 64 gigs of eMMC storage for file transfers to and from the connected server. Let's now talk about the integrated 5G cellular. When would you actually want this, right? In my mind, there's 3 main scenarios. First of all is network redundancy. If your Ethernet and Wi-Fi are both down, you can still connect to this KVM with cellular. Second, we have air-gapped servers that can't touch your network. The server doesn't have a network connection, but this KVM can connect over 5G with Tailscale, and then you're in. Similarly, there may be situations where a server does have internet capability, but network policies prohibit the connection of any sort of third-party devices or software. And finally, we've got mobile deployments, live events, remote sites, anywhere that you need KVM access, but you can't count on the local infrastructure. The browser interface is the same as the Comet Pro KVM, and I've got a link down in the description if you want a full walkthrough. But for this one, we're gonna hook it up to my Project Nomad test server here, and then we're gonna come back and try it out. All right, I'm now connected to Ethernet, and we can see the IP address of the KVM right here on the front of the touchscreen. Now, one thing to note here, you can't use 5G to do the initial setup. You do have to first configure the Comet 5G with either Ethernet or over Wi-Fi. For the 5G connectivity, we're going to be using a Crosstalk Mobile Unlimited SIM. This is a brand new product. So we've got super high network priority, we have actually unlimited data, and you can even get a static IP over 5G cellular. So check out the link below for more info. But for this KVM, an unlimited data SIM is going to be way overkill. The Comet 5G is designed to work with RedCap SIMs. RedCap meaning reduced capability, which is basically a flavor of 5G that's specifically designed for IoT and mid-tier devices. It's going to be faster than Cat4 LTE, but it has lower power consumption than a full 5G SIM. You may have already heard about RedCap because they're used in the new Series 11 Apple Watches that support both GPS and cellular. Now, AT&T and T-Mobile have both already rolled out nationwide RedCap capability. But I don't have a RedCap SIM, so in my case, I popped a Crosstalk mobile SIM into the slot on the side, and it immediately recognized it as a valid SIM and then connected. You can check the status of all of your network connections by going into the KVM GUI, click on Settings, and then Network Status is down at the bottom. Next, we're going to want to connect to Tailscale. So you want to pop over to the App Center, enable Tailscale, you click on Bind Device, and then follow the prompts. Once connected, I can now access the KVM through its Tailscale IP from anywhere in the world. And also for you zero-tier users, GL.iNet told me that they've got a native zero-tier integration on the roadmap, so look for that coming soon. Now, if you don't have or if you don't want to use Tailscale or zero-tier, you can also bind to GL.iNet's KVM cloud, which functions very much the same way. So that's what I'm doing here, and as you can see, I am controlling this server through my laptop, which is connected to the KVM's Tailscale interface. All right, so now let's break my internet connection. If we watch the front screen of this device, we should see the IP address, which currently is 192.168.200.198. That's my LAN IP, and if we pull the Ethernet cable, we should see that IP address change almost immediately to the IP address of my SIM card. Okay, so here we can see 192.168.200.198. I'm going to pull the Ethernet cable. And boom, just like that, we switch to a different IP address. This is a WAN IP address because this is actually from the SIM. And as you can see, even without Ethernet, I am still able to control the desktop of this Ubuntu server. Now, if I plug the Ethernet cable back into the KVM, we should see after just a moment, the display will change back to the Ethernet IP on the local network, which it just did, because the Comet 5G is designed to use Ethernet first, then Wi-Fi, then cellular, in that order. Now that first test was pretty easy though, right? The KVM detected the unplugged cable immediately, but in the real world, that's not what's gonna fail. In the real world, an upstream switch is gonna die, or the ISP has an outage, or your router locks up, right? The KVM's Ethernet port is going to stay connected. Its link state is not gonna change, but perhaps the internet is down. So this is the test that actually matters. Can the Comet 5G detect an upstream connectivity issue and still fail over to cellular? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, so the way I have this set up, I have the Ethernet cable plugged into a switch right below the desk here. This Ubuntu server is also plugged into that same switch. That switch is wired over here to a switch on the back corner of my desk. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect this switch's connection from the main switch over here on the back of the desk. But first, I'm gonna start a persistent ping so that we can watch the internet on this Ubuntu server. All right, so from my laptop, we can see that I'm controlling the interface of the Ubuntu box through Tailscale. Let me start a persistent ping. All right, there we go. We've got a persistent ping going on the screen, as you can see right there. Try to get both of those in view here, and we can see right now we are at 192.168.200.198. All right, I'm gonna pull the switch back here. And we are disconnected. We have switched over to the IP address of the cellular SIM card, but the persistent ping over here has stopped, meaning that this Ubuntu server lost its internet connection. But from my laptop, look at that, I can still control it because I'm going over Tailscale through 5G to this Comet 5 KVM, which has that HDMI pass-through to the Ubuntu server. Now, if I plug this switch back in just a moment, we should see the internet pick back up, and we should also see this switch back to the LAN IP address for my network. There we go. We are now back on the LAN IP address here, and the persistent ping has started. And all the while, I am still able to control this server from my laptop. As you can see, even though the network failure happened upstream of the Comet 5G, it still sensed the outage and it failed over to cellular. The Comet 5G is the world's first KVM switch that I'm aware of that has this 5G RedCap cellular failover built right in. There are other KVM solutions that you can sort of like kludge together with a USB cellular modem or something like that, but in those situations, you're adding both complexity and additional points of failure into your KVM failover solution. The Comet 5G is going to be shipping early March 2026. It's going to have an MSRP of $299, but as of the recording of this video, early bird pricing is still available for $219, with the standard pre-order pricing set to $239. For that price, you get the integrated 5G failover, Ethernet and Wi-Fi connectivity options, 64 gigs of onboard file storage, Tailscale support, and of course, you get this gorgeous little touchscreen display. All of that combined makes the Comet G a no-brainer for your mission-critical remote KVM needs. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to keep this party going, I have hand-selected a couple of videos on the right here for you to watch next. The top video is my deep dive into the Comet Pro, which provides the foundation for the Comet 5G that I featured here. And the bottom video is a look at all of the cool new GL.iNet products that were showcased at CES this past January.